2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Oh, man, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, welcome into the Voice of Reason. It is a brand new week. It is a brand new Monday, which means we have a lot to get to because everything happens on the weekend. Everything tries to happen when you're not paying attention, and we are 3 weeks away from election season. I saw a post on, what was it, social media or a news source somewhere that said we are 500 hours away from Election Day. That's kind of cool. Welcome into the show. Great to have you along for the ride today. Broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, all over the country on radio, TV, live streaming, podcasting. Doesn't matter where you're at, how you may be watching or listening. We appreciate you very, very much. Thanks for hanging out with us. We got some killer numbers right now. Just jumping on already. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, also on the website at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. We do have the live stream on there as well, which you can leave comments on all of these. You can also email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Coming up in a little bit, we tried to get a hold of him, wasn't able to make contact. Hopefully we can make contact with him here in a minute. Dr. Robert Royal, he is the author of Columbus and the Crisis of the West. I want him to come on because today's not just a Monday, but it is Columbus Day. Now, show of hands, did anybody actually remember that today's Columbus Day? Probably not many because most people don't want to talk about Christopher Columbus. And, I'm sorry, that's right. It's not Christopher Columbus Day anymore, right? It's Indigenous Peoples Day. Yeah, Indigenous Peoples Day. So did you celebrate it all today for either Christopher Columbus or Indigenous Peoples Day? Look, I got nothing against Indigenous Peoples Day. I got nothing against Christopher Columbus. Andy, he was such a jerk. He kind of was. But I want to get into that in just a minute. So we'll talk with him hopefully here in a little bit. But I want to give my 2 cents and get your 2 cents on Columbus Day today. Did you get to celebrate it in any way, shape, or form? Or did you do anything special for it? Not that it's really a big holiday, but at the same time, it's important, I think, in culture today. In our society today, it's kind of a big deal. And I'll tell you about it why here in just a minute. Plus, we had the kickoff of the confirmation hearings for Amy Coney Barrett, judge, potential U.S. Supreme Court candidate that's being interviewed, if you want to put it that way, interviewed by the U.S. Senate. I think it was a little ridiculous hearing some of the opening statements today, so we'll get into that here in just a little bit as well. Plus, the latest headline, what's trending election-wise today.
What's trending today?
So, according to the Investor Business Daily, Joe Biden is leading in the polls against Donald Trump by 8.5 points. Now, that is according to the poll that supposedly was the closest to the 2016 general election polls that actually predicted more so than anybody else. In that one, Joe Biden holds a solid 8.5 point lead over President Donald Trump, barely 3 weeks ahead of Election Day. Now, Biden leads Trump 51-43 in the four-way 2020 election poll of likely voters. Libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen has the support of 2.5%, and the Green Party candidate Howie Hawkins at 0.8%. I didn't even know there was a Green Party running this one. Doesn't surprise me because they always run somebody, but they're irrelevant. They don't matter, but 0.8%. Now, here's the kicker. If it gets narrow and it gets within that realm of up in the air of we're not really sure, in that margin of error, as they like to call it, because, well, they can guesstimate, but they can't be sure. If we get into that margin, 1%, 2%, 3%, that libertarian vote, how much does that matter? It's really irrelevant until it gets into a swing one way or the other because it's that close. Then those actually matter. Is in not in the good way of voting for that third party to actually make them relevant, but to actually sway the election one way or the other. Otherwise, they're not going to have a chance. And we've talked about that. I'll continue to rail on the fact that party over person in the general election, it's unfortunate. We have a two-party system. I don't like it, but that's the way it is. That's really the way it is. And if you don't like it, then we need to change the two-party system, or you need to reform the parties from within. But there's so much money and influence that they're not going away. Not going away anytime soon. And you can feel good about voting third party, but at the end of the day, I don't know that it necessarily helps you. It actually hurts your cause more than it helps you because it throws the vote away from the person that could be closely lined with you, even though you may not completely agree with that candidate. That's another discussion for another time. But Libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen right now with 2.5% vote, Biden at 51%, Joe Biden at 43%. Do you believe these polls? Now, again, I don't believe polls, especially the fact that these are very broad, 30,000 foot looking down type of polls, generalizations, as opposed to the very county by county, precinct by precinct, district by district that both campaigns are able to do. Donald Trump is able to do more in-depth polling. The Democrats are able to do more in-depth polling, which means in my mind, you look more at the results or the reaction of these candidates on what they're doing, where they're campaigning, and what they're talking about is the issues that are driving them, as opposed to what the pollsters are saying. Because the pollsters are more reactionary to the candidates. The candidates have a better insight of what's going on nationwide, district by district, state by state, precinct by precinct, to understand where they need to focus their attention, which is why they go to certain places to talk. And the pollsters can try and actually respond to that appropriately, but they don't do a very good job because they're very broad. They're very generic. So I don't know that I believe these, but do you? Because apparently this was the poll that was the closest in the 2016 election with Joe Biden up 8.5 points as of right now. So we'll talk about that here in just a second as well. But happy Columbus Day to you. I know that may trigger a lot of individuals. I know. That's okay. The guest that we were going to have on today, hopefully we can talk to him in a little bit, but Dr. Robert Royal, he is the president and founder of the Faith and Reason Institute in Washington, D.C., also editor-in-chief of The Catholic Thing, and author of the book Columbus and the Crisis of the West. Now, I wanted to talk to him. He was the perfect guest for it, which I'm a little bummed that he couldn't come on. But as we try and change history, in his little notes that he had, he wasn't doing a defense of Christopher Columbus per se, but it's more of an observation of what we're in today. Show of hands, do you know of a book, just one, a book that's been banned in our education system recently? To Kill a Mockingbird. I read that when I was in school. I not only watched it, not only read it, but I watched the movie in class with our English teacher, and I thought it was very interesting. The progressives that were in my school that hated my guts, by the way, in high school. This started all the way back in high school. As soon as I got involved in politics, they were like, wow, this guy's kind of a jerk. Meaning me, because, well, there was some very progressive students in my class, but that's okay. Both in government class and economics class and in literature and English. So we watched it, and they were okay with it as well because it created discussion of what racism was like back then, how bad it was, how far we've come, how far we need to go. It was a great discussion because that's the kind of conversations we need to have. So let's relate it to Columbus Day. Is that the conversation we need to have now? Christopher Columbus, yeah, he was kind of a jerk. A little bit of a jerk. He enslaved many indigenous individuals. He scared them to death by giving them a lot of their resources going into the wintertime because they had just got there. They were beginning to colonialize the area, and they didn't have any food. They didn't have any resources. So they said, hey, give us half of your stash, and we'll let you live. The indigenous people were like, what are you talking about? They said, well, here's what we're going to do. Because they were more sophisticated. They could read the stars. They could read astrology. And they said, you know what? There's going to be a blood moon soon, and our gods will be angry at you if you do not give us half your food. Well, as soon as it happened, boom, they saw it, they got angry, or the indigenous people got scared, ended up giving them a lot of food. This was the kind of stuff that Columbus did. Was he a jerk? Sure, he was a jerk. At the same time, that's the way of the world at that time. Colonialization, expansion, dominating other cultures. And if you were able to dominate other cultures based on your sophistication or your knowledge, then why the heck would you not do so? I don't understand why that's a bad thing to understand today. Is it a bad thing to do today? Sure it is. You never want to do that. But we got to remember at the same time, the indigenous people then were battling against one another. If you remember, I mean, this was in the Central American area. Let's take the Aztecs, for example. They would use the heads of their enemies to play soccer. So don't tell me that they were more sophisticated than the evil Columbus that would utilize and take advantage of his enemies when he came over as the evil white devil that would come over and enslave all the people. I mean, they were very brutal in their own mindsets as well based on what their gods wanted them to do. So why today, as we talk about changing history, why do we need to do that? Why can't we understand history as it was, factually, without any of the fluff, without ignoring it, putting on the blinders and saying, we're never going to do that again? Why do we do that today, as opposed to just accepting it the way it was, say, wow, look how far we've come, and promise to never do something like that again? I don't understand it. And that's exactly what we've done with Christopher Columbus Day. Instead of celebrating someone that said, wow, you know what, he was the dominant guy at the time. He crossed a massive ocean with very primitive tools. He almost died doing it. They brought a whole bunch of people over. They landed. They started a trade with new resources, which is, you know, obviously the beginning of globalization, quote unquote, if you want to call it that. Found new resources, found new spices, found new things, found new people, and then dominated over them because that's what you did. It happened all over the place. But we have, for some reason today, this absolute hatred and fear-mongering of individuals who are scared to death of hearing about colonialization. They don't like it. They don't want anything to do with it. And they want to shame it in today's times by rewriting history. By trying to shame Christopher Columbus. Why does he need to be shamed? If the roles were reversed and the Aztecs or anybody else at that time were the dominant, sophisticated ones of that time, they would have gone over to England and they would have done the same thing. And they would have played a lot more soccer because they would have had a lot more heads to roll around. I mean, am I right? That's what they would have done. Culture at that time was a way different time. Why do we relate cultures from hundreds of years ago to today's level of sophistication or today's level of common decency? Why do we do that? Because it's a totally different era. So for us to completely ignore Christopher Columbus as an evil, bad, terrible guy and to completely remove him from history is stupid. And I just don't understand it. Maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you do agree with me. But I think that today we need to celebrate the fact that we had not necessarily Christopher Columbus, but the movement of what he represented. He represented the idea that we could cross vast amounts of land or water with very primitive things and we can survive. The human instinct to continue to expand, to continue to be curious, to continue to evolve. The Western expansion that he was able to do was monumental. And I know it's Andy, other people did it before him. I know they did. So what? He got documented. Guess what? The victors end up writing history. Like it or not like it, that's the way it works. He created national trade, international trade with new products and new spices. He was able to bring other than like smallpox and other diseases to these people as well, which was unfortunate. He was able to bring ways to understand other cultures or to dominate those other cultures, which again, it was not a bad thing back then. It was just what you did. They were bad. We were good. Let's go get them. Let's make them work for us. And let's continue to do our expansion. Bad today. It's still bad today. They're still going on today, by the way, as well. So I don't hear that same progressive mindset saying that that's all bad going on in Africa or other parts of the world right now, where it is happening, where the Middle East and Muslim communities, not all, but some Muslim communities are enslaving one another. where we still have persecution against Christian or Jewish communities all over the world, where we still have enslavement of black people over in Africa by their own black people and other tribes. So I don't want to hear about this false rage about Christopher Columbus unless they're actively fighting to stop that stuff today. When we end it worldwide today, then we can address the issues that we've had in the past to ensure that it never happens again. And why erase it instead of learning from it and understanding it to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's my beef with it. Happy Columbus Day to you, or happy Indigenous Peoples Day to you as well. I don't really care what you call it. I love learning about different cultures, Indigenous people, or about Christopher Columbus and what's going on in Europe as well. I really don't care. I think it's just a holiday for us to celebrate because, you know what? It shows the toughness of mankind in some way, shape, or form, either the survival of the indigenous people or the expansion of people going across vast parts of land and water in order to survive and see what else is out there because we want to be adventurers. I don't see a problem with either one of those things. So whatever you want to call today, happy to it, and let's continue on with the current events of the day. What do you say? Lots coming up here on The Voice of Reason. It's a Monday. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on The Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com.
For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Welcome back into the show. Thanks for hanging out with us today on a Monday. Radio, TV, live stream, wherever you may be. So some comments coming in over that last segment. Let's bring back some old school soccer. The Aztecs. Yeah, I tell you, they were vicious. They were brutal. But yet only the white guy was evil, right? Media seems to forget to tell you about that. The progressive lecturing professor forgets to tell you about that. But hey, we're the bad ones. Now, another listener, you're absolutely right. Scott on the Podbean live stream right now. Are the Democrat Party doing the same thing today as it is then? You're right. They're not waiting 200, 300 years anymore to try and erase history. They're doing it right now with our education system by not teaching you about the Constitution the way it needs to be, by not teaching you about true facts of what's going on right now, creating those fear tactics, just like them. How Christopher Columbus had tried to create fear on the unknowing then. The Democrats try and make you unaware of the issues and then create fear about it. The virus is deadly and it's going to kill everybody if you get the virus. And that's the fear that they you will get the virus and you will die if you get that. Now, you may have a 98% chance of actually being asymptomatic, but you will die if you get this virus. If Donald Trump gets reelected, then we will all go back to the 1920s where women don't even have the right to vote. It's what they do. They uneducate based on the media, giving you false information. The Democrats coming down with their talking points, giving you false information, complete flat-out lies, like what we saw in that debate. Kamala Harris, we're not going to raise taxes on anybody less than $400,000, but you're repealing tax cuts. Yeah, but we're not going to raise those taxes. But if you repeal the tax cuts, that's a tax increase. No, it's not. I actually had a guest on about a year or so ago that actually said that. And I don't remember even who it was or who they were with. And I thought that they were on the conservative side. And it blew my mind. It made me completely lose track of my entire thought process during the interview because I was interviewing them. And they literally said, I think it was locally in the state of Kansas, talking about some tax rates there. And they had literally said that repealing tax cuts is not a tax increase, it's a correction. And I had to stop and think, wait a second, what did you just say? No, it's a tax increase. If you have a tax cut and you repeal the tax cut, that means your taxes went back up to what they were before. When you do a tax cut, it's not like a temporary thing where it's just like, oh, it's down there for a little bit, then it's going to go back up. No, when you do a tax cut, it is down there. That is the new level. That's the new standard. That's the new platform of what your tax rate's going to be. That's what everybody bases their assumption off of, is this is the new tax rate. When you repeal that, and let's go back up to what it was before, that would be an increase. That's basic common sense. This is what you don't learn in education systems anymore, apparently, because he said, no, Andy, it's not. It is a tax reset. It is a reset of the system because it's not a tax increase. We're going back to what it was before, where it should have been as the baseline, and therefore it's not an increase, it's a reset. It blew my mind. Blew my mind. This is the kind of education that's being taught in our education system, that Christopher Columbus was evil and terrible, that we create the fear tactics of, look at what white man, quote unquote, did. And now they're using it today. Not teaching the Constitution, because the Constitution was created by rich white landowners, men who just want to control you. So therefore, what they did, their actions of the Constitution, completely null and void. What Christopher Columbus did by sailing across the entire ocean with minimal things, people dying along the way, trying to find a new land, trying to be the adventurer, the expansion of humankind, something that had never been done on that level before. That is a momentous thing that we need to celebrate as mankind, not just as white people or European people or Spanish people or whatever. It's something that we need to celebrate as mankind as a whole, and women, by the way, part of mankind, that we need to celebrate because it was a momentous feat that he had accomplished, traveling across half the world, half the globe, in order to try and expand the human race. And he ran into other people. Now, all the other details, yeah, are they bad? Sure, to today's times. But why cast it out when he did something momentous? But we don't teach that anymore. What our founders did creating this nation was momentous, but we don't teach that anymore because they're bad, they're evil, they're white, they're rich, they're landowners. They may have died in the poorhouse trying to save this country, but they were evil then, so we should disregard what they
Voice
did.
of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of the Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hooser Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast, Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hooser Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode.
Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Yes, you are. Welcome back into the show. Thanks for hanging out with us today on a Monday, trying to cram that 10 pounds of reason into that 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the millennial generation one radio listener at a time. Radio, TV, live streaming, no matter where you may be. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. On the website at HooserReason.com. You can follow us on social media at Hooser Reason as well. Thanks for visiting. Thanks for checking us out. We've seen an increase all over the board, so we thank you for that very much. If you haven't checked it out, we have our blog up and going from the beginning of the month, which it's already halfway through the month. I cannot believe that. So you can go and check that out at HooserReason.com as well. Become a Hoosier-holic. Sign up for the newsletter. Just go to the website. It'll pop up. Say, do you want to be a Hoosier-holic? You say yes. Type in your email address. Totally free. We're not going to spam you a whole bunch. Just send you a monthly newsletter. Maybe one thing throughout the month if there's something really exciting, which there are some really cool, exciting things going on right now. We are just about to announce at least 2 to 3 new shows coming onto the Hooser Media Network, like podcasts. So we'll be sharing that. Again, that's another one you can follow on social media at Hooser Media. You can go to facebook.com/Hooser Media, and you can find that on YouTube and on Facebook. Just go to Hooser Media, type that in. You can find that, share it, follow it, and we'd appreciate that very much as we have some new shows coming on board there. I'm really excited about that, doing some video production for them and sharing those shows out onto our network. I'm super excited about that. Some more information to come here very soon. All of it there on social media. Our website for the Hooser Media Network will be up and running here soon as well. So stay tuned in. Like I said, we're about ready to blow up some really cool stuff. So it's coming fast and heavy, and I'm trying to stay caught up with everything, and I don't know that I am, but we're working on it. So again, find us on social media, on Facebook and on YouTube right now at Hooser Media, and you can find those on the show itself for the Voice of Reason. You can find us at Hooser Reason on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. We have Instagram as well that we are starting to do some videos on at Hooser Reason, again, on there, and also on Parler and on Minds.com. So we are literally every social media site you can think of, especially the more conservative-minded ones with Minds.com and on Parler at Hooser Reason, and you can find all those also online, and a link to all of them is on the website at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the story of the day.
What's trending today?
Yeah, so here we go. The big news is that we have Amy Coney Barrett beginning her confirmation hearings in the Senate today. And did you know that the person that had a positive case, Senator Mike Lee, was speaking without a mask? Oh, my. Oh, that right there. That just tops it off. I mean, Senator Mike Lee, Republican, speaking without a mask, according to theweek.com. Everybody losing their minds. Now, it doesn't matter that he's not viral anymore, that you actually have the antibodies to where you can't spread it any longer. You're not infectious any longer. But he's there. He was at the hearing, and he spoke without a mask. That right there needs to be the number one priority of what we talk about through this hearing. Now, Senator Dianne Feinstein didn't have a mask on either. I found it very odd So you had Amy Coney. If you did watch any of this today, which I recommend you watch maybe a little bit, just a little bit, and then until you can't deal with it any longer. But she sat there by herself at a table, no one around her, and she was wearing a mask. No one around. I mean, obviously, she's sitting at the table. If you've seen the panoramic view of these chambers when they do these hearings at the House or in the Senate, they have the table there in the middle, and then the media is like right below them in front of the big panel of all the senators that are going to be there doing from the committee doing the Q&A. So she's completely away from anybody, wearing a mask. Which, I guess, if that's her prerogative, that's what she wants to do, that's what she wants to do. Now, I find it annoying when you try and talk with a mask on. I can't really hear what you're saying. So that's kind of annoying. But she wore the mask for most of the time, took it off a couple of times to get a drink of water, and then she put it back on. None of the senators that I saw, at least, wore a mask. Dianne Feinstein, Mike Lee, Lindsey Graham, nobody was wearing a mask. Now, they have staffers directly behind them that are getting them information, that are handing them their scripts of what they want to talk about, that are running errands for them. They're standing literally right behind them. And yet they were not social distancing, but yet they were not wearing a mask. So I found that kind of ironic. While the leaders of our government are forcing us, wear the mask, wear the mask, wear the mask, wear the mask, they weren't wearing a mask themselves. Now, the second part that I found quite interesting with this whole process. Now, this is day one. It's kind of the introductions of what they want. I was curious on how they would attack her because she's the soccer mom. She's got 7 kids, a couple of them being adopted from Haiti. So you can't go for a racist. They tried to go after her for being a colonialist, kind of like she's the evil Christopher Columbus. That's right. That's right. She's the crazy Christopher Columbus style because she is colonizing certain areas of indigenous people because she adopted their children.
I'm special.
That's what they're going to go after her for, especially today being Christopher Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day or whatever you want to call it. She is colonizing and she is the evil capitalist colonialist because she is adopting kids from less fortunate countries with indigenous people and taking their children away. That's how stupid this could be. I didn't hear that, but I did hear really it had nothing to do with her. I think, in just observing here, I think they're starting to realize they're going to lose the election. Or that at least they're going to have the confirmation through and there's nothing they can do about it. Because what I heard today from numerous different Democrats was not the fact that what her qualifications were, or what their concerns about her were, or whether they thought she should be in the Supreme Court. I heard a little bit about it's a political game because it's election season and we shouldn't be doing this process. I heard a little bit of that, but what I mostly heard was a plea to her to not reverse Obamacare. That was the major talking point. And again, it wasn't about her quality. When you do a hearing for a Supreme Court justice, it's supposed to be about what's your record look like? Are you qualified? How many years of experience do you have? It's kind of like a job interview, where the Senate sits back and says, all right, you want to be Supreme Court Justice? Why? What would you do? What's your qualifications? Why do you think you'd be a good Supreme Court Justice? It's kind of like a job interview, because it is. They have to vote on her and be like, yeah, okay, let's get her through, to be on a lifetime selection for the U.S. Supreme Court. Instead, it was the political pandering of, you shouldn't repeal Obamacare. People's health care is going up. The insurance is struggling. The pharmaceutical industry is really bad. We're going to election season where they want to reverse the individual. Well, they've already reversed the individual mandate, but they want to reverse the rest of Obamacare and abortion and rights for women and so on and so forth. And they didn't even ask her questions. They just rambled on for their 5 minutes at a time and said, you shouldn't do this agenda. They were politically pandering to a potential Supreme Court justice who's not supposed to be involved in the political process. Does anybody else see something wrong with that picture? A Supreme Court justice is not supposed to be politically engaged. They're supposed to interpret the Constitution, period, end of story, that's it. They're not supposed to be involved with politics. They're not supposed to be around politics. When they're hearing a case, they're not supposed to be talking to the media or reading stories or learning about opinions of other people. They're not supposed to be involved in any of that. Their literal job is to sit in a room and listen to a case and say legally and constitutionally what should be my decision on this. That's it. Instead, They're hearing political pandering during the confirmation process from politicians who are trying to say, please don't repeal Obamacare, please don't repeal the health care, because we want to keep that intact. And we know you're going to get on there, and you haven't really made any comments about Obamacare, so we'd really like to try and politically pander you, so when that case does come up, then you make the right decision. I have a serious problem with that process, don't you? Because she is supposed to be objective here. What does the Constitution say? All right, the Constitution says that you do not have a right to base healthcare as a national standard. The common good or the common whatever does not actually say that you can just have free reign to do whatever you want to do. And therefore, Obamacare by day one should be completely repealed because the government should not be involved in healthcare. The only thing it should be doing is regulating interstate commerce to make sure there's no monopolies within the healthcare industry, which is what Donald Trump's trying to do by widening up the market, expanding the market, having more insurance providers, lowering the price, raising the quality because there's more competition, being able to compete across state lines, and making sure that that's going to run in a smooth process. The moderators of a debate may say that that's not a very good plan or that's not a plan, but that actually is a plan. By letting interstate commerce to happen and competition across state lines, that actually is a plan. Because just that itself allows more into a market, which means you widen the market, you can lower the prices because it's oversaturated, kind of like a radio industry right now. If you're listening to radio in any way, shape, or form, and there's 30 different radio stations in your market, it's oversaturated. You can listen to 5 different country music stations. You can listen to 5 different news talk stations, and it's a battle, and the ratings are lower overall because they're so diverse and they're so watered down from so much in the market. That's how exactly the healthcare industry needs to be. That way the price is lower. They can tailor it more to you to try and keep you as a customer, and the quality is going to go up because they have to have good quality in order for them to maintain you. I see nothing wrong with that. And every time you look at that in the private market, that's fine. That's my political belief. That's my personal belief. That's my common sense belief in the healthcare industry. But regardless of what mine is, regardless of what the other side's is, why would they be politically pandering to a Supreme Court justice other than the fact that they're desperate? They know they're going to lose. They know that Donald Trump's going to get another Supreme Court justice on the ballot, or at least on the Supreme Court, potentially more if he gets reelected, and they're desperate to try and hold on to what power they've had. They've been doing so well over the last how many years? By putting Supreme Court justices on, by trying to introduce legislation, by suing, by doing the legal suits, by turning it to the courts. They've used the courts as their best friend. The courts have essentially become the most powerful branch of government all over the nation, at the federal level, all the way down to the local levels. Because nowadays, everybody just wants to turn around and sue somebody or take it to court in order to get a ruling. And once the Supreme Court makes a ruling, then it's done, it's over. That's the law of the land. And you can use that court case to build upon it for the next time. And progressives have used this agenda for a very long time. Now that their entire agenda is being backfired upon them and it's being reversed on a daily basis, they're losing their minds. They're not just losing their agenda, they're losing their minds because it's being turned against them. The system that they built for themselves is now being reversed. And they have a hard time dealing with that. I understand. It's a big loss. Going through a breakup with your favorite agency to be able to hold on to your agenda. I get it, but at the same time, guess what? That's the law of the land, and we're going to do the same thing by reversing your policies to get back to what we need to here in the country.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the voice of reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HooserReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hooserholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
You're darn right you are. Welcome back into the show. Thanks for hanging out with us today. It's a Monday. We have a lot to get to this week. Coming up on Wednesday, we have Danielle D'Souza, the daughter of Dinesh D'Souza. She came out with a new book, and looking forward to chatting with her. She'll be on the show live with us on Wednesday. Make sure not to miss that one. Plus, we have a new representative from the Republican National Committee. We'll get them on at the end of the week as well, talking about the latest with Amy Coney Barrett after some of the investigative process continues on in the U.S. Senate, which now they're saying, according to theweek.com, remember, Mike Lee spoke without a mask after being contracted with the COVID-19 virus. Everybody should panic. because the fact that he spoke and he didn't have a mask on. Now, he's like Trump, where now he's immune to it. He's not a spreader. You can't spread it after you have it. You have the antibody, so everything's all hunky-dory. He doesn't need the mask, but the media's not going to report that. They're like, oh, Mike Lee speaking at the thing without a mask. Holy cow. Now, the same news source, theweek.com, they also came out and trying to delegitimize President Donald Trump to make you a little more relaxed going into election season, because now that Donald Trump is getting through Amy Coney Barrett, now that he's gotten a few Supreme Court justices on, and the big one was worrying about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, whether she was going to last another throughout the term or not, and what was going to happen when that replacement came. We don't know of any other replacements, although we could have another one-ish or two coming up in the next 4 years. I've heard the little tweets behind the scenes from. Now the news, theweek.com, trying to say that, his job's done. His job's done. The voters that voted for the Supreme Court in 2016, that was their main issue, driving them to the polls to make sure Donald Trump could nominate the proper people. Their job's done. You don't need to go vote for Trump anymore. This is showing, by the way, the desperation that they have again. You don't need to go vote anymore. You don't need to go show up for Donald Trump. His job is done. There's no more fillers that he has to worry about with the Supreme Court. He's getting this one through. Therefore, the ones that go to the polls worried about the Supreme Court, that job is done. It's over. You don't need to worry about it. I'm serious. Here's the headline from theweek.com. The Supreme Court deal is done. The necessary compelling reason to vote for Donald Trump in 2016 for many white evangelicals and other conservative Republicans was the Supreme Court. That reason is now gone. Or will it be soon if Republican senators can manage to avoid COVID-19 infections long enough to confirm Amy Coney Barrett's nomination? Hearing on her candidacy began today, and the subsequent vote now enjoys plurality support. Her confirmation can and probably will be done before Election Day, at which point President Trump's SCOTUS voters can, and on this very basis should, dump him as swiftly and mercilessly as he dumped them, or are they no longer politically useful? Donald Trump, now, don't worry about the taxes. Don't worry about the Second Amendment. Don't worry about life issues. Don't worry about anything else. The ones that turned out, the reason Donald Trump got elected in 2016 was solely, according to this, solely because of the Supreme Court. They didn't like his tweets. They didn't like his personality. They didn't like how much of a jerk he was, how much of a dummy he was. Now, these all are the same arguments they used against George W. Bush back in the day. If you remember, Village is missing its idiot in Texas. Remember those? Now they love him. They're like, oh, look at that. Half of Bush's supporters are coming and supporting Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. No, look at this. That's the former staffers from George Bush. We're so proud to have them on board with us, according to Kamala Harris in that debate. We're so proud to have them with us, which I find ironic. But according to this is the way for them to get a little more, you know what? You're right. I don't need to vote for that guy. He's a jerk. I don't like him. I was voting for just a couple specific things because of maybe the economy and maybe because of guns, but really because of the Supreme Court. That was the driving factor to win Donald Trump the election last time. Now, my question is it true? That was a major issue going into the election, but was that the only reason? Now, we've seen what he's done with the economy. We've seen how the economy's rebounded after COVID. We've seen his protection on the Second Amendment to a mostly large degree. We've seen that he is the most pro-life candidate. Is that the one major issue that's driving people to the polls this election for Donald Trump? And was it last time? And is it really going to have that much of an effect? Because these guys say, oh, you should dump him. He's going to dump you. You should dump him. Now, he's done his duty. He's done his purpose. He's gotten 3 people on the U.S. Supreme Court. He's not going to get any more, although he may get 1 or 2 more over the next 4 years if he gets reelected, which means that still should be an issue to get you to the polls. But according to them, you don't need to worry about him any longer. Don't worry about him. Dump him. Get rid of him now. He's done his duty. Now you can let him leave and fade off into the distance. I sense desperation. I sense that they're a little angry and they think he's going to win. So therefore, that's their last desperate plea. He's already done it enough. Don't let him do it anymore. That's how desperate they are, which is why I continue to think my prediction we've said since the beginning, 320 Electoral College votes. 320, I'm still saying that and I stick to it. I think we need to get some experts back on talking about that a little bit as we get closer to election time. That does it for us today. Podcast going up in a little bit. We have great guests all this week. You're not going to want to miss any of them. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. It's the voice of reason. We're back at it tomorrow. Until then, everybody have a great Monday evening. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.